Welcome back to our English class. Today we are going to study a new chapter from the on-board textbook of class 11. The name of the chapter is The Adventure by Joan Nandikar. So before moving towards the chapter, let's know about who the author is. Giant Vishnu Nandikar was born on 19th July 1938 in a family of scholars. He is an Indian astrophysicist and emeritus professor at the Inter-University Center for Astronomy and Astrophysics. So this chapter, the title itself, tells us about the adventure. So what kind of adventure? Adventure itself tells us that there are some thrill, some fun, some excitement, some daring kind of things that we do. So adventure in this particular story is something about a professor. Professor name is Gangadhar Pant Gaidante. So this adventure is a story about Professor Gangadhar Pant Gaidante, who is strangely in a different world. He knows it is Pune, but the facts are different from what he believes. He decided to go to Bombay via train Jijamata Express. When he reached Bombay, things were different. When he decided to investigate the history, he finds some surprising fact. The East India Company was still ruling and the Battle of Panipat had been won by Marathas. It was different from what he knew and his had studied. The East India Company was taken aback after event of 1857 and the Battle of Panipat had been won by Mughals. So that was the introductory part of the chapter. Now I'll deal with the summary of the chapter. In this chapter, Professor Gaidante was traveling from Pune to Bombay from Jijamata Express, a train which was fastest than the Deccan Queen in those days. As he was crossing the towns and villages, he met a man named Khan Sahib who talked about his business and chatted about several things. They got off at Victoria Terminal Station, which was very neat and clean. It had British officers, Farsis and Anglo-Indian staff all around. He was confused as to how the East India Company was ruling the country, as according to his fact, they had fled away after the events of 1857. He went to On-by Road and noticed that the shops were different. He entered the 4 buildings and inquired about Vinay Gaidante, who was his son, but as checked by the receptionist, no such man had ever worked there. He went to the town hall and sat in the reading room. He took 5 books related to the history and decided to go through them one by one and check how the fact had changed. He started investigating from the period of Ashoka to the 3rd Battle of Panipat. Remember, my dear children, he is a professor and he had written 5 volumes of books, and now he is having some confusion regarding the last volume of these history, the Battle of Panipat. So he is researching, and remember that in the starting itself he was traveling from Pune to Bombay in search of Rajendra Gaidante. So according to the 5th volume, Bahu Sahib Banchi Bakhar, he found out that Marathas had won the Battle of Panipat and spread their influence all over India after that. He was confused as it was different from what he knew so far. After the victory, India was moved to the path of democracy. There were no longer any kings ruling and democratic parties had been set up. The professor started liking India as he kept reading further about it. It was different from the one he believed he saw. This country knew how to stand on its feet, and it was no longer slave under the white man. As he was going through the book, the librarian told him to finish since they were closing the library. It was 8 o'clock. He asked about carrying the books with him as he would return the next morning and slip the Bakar books into his left pocket. He checked into a guest house and had his dinner. He decided to walk towards Azad Maidan. He noticed a large crowd of people going towards a pandal. A lecture was going on, but he noticed something unusual. The presidential chair was empty. The speaker was talking and the crowd was continuously moving inside and outside. He could not control himself and moved towards the stage and sat on the chair. The crowd was taken aback and started asking him to get up and move away. He tried to talk to them, but they started throwing several objects at him, such as tomatoes, eggs, potatoes, stones, so many things on him. Soon the crowd moved towards him and pushed him away, and he was moved nowhere to be seen. Remember, my dear children, he is a professor, and professor keep on giving lectures on whatever they are having some knowledge. He found that the stage was empty and he started giving lectures on what he is having knowledge about the Battle of Panipat. So at that particular time, the audience was not ready to listen to his lectures. Because of the audience throwing so many things on him, he was somewhere else. Okay, when he get up, he find himself that he was in the hospital and saw Rajendra in front of him, whom he want to meet. He narrated the whole sequence of event that took place, and Rajendra listened to him amazed. Why Rajendra was amazed? Because the professor was confused as to where he was, and if he had been in the coma for the past 2 days, what was the experience he had? Was it real or not? Because Rajendra explained to him that it happened because of 2 theories, catastrophe theory and lack of determination in quantum theory. Catastrophe theory states that a small change in any situation can result in a shift in behavior. In reality, the Marathas lost their leader Babu Sahib and Vishwas Rao, and hence they lost the battle. But professor saw that the bullet missed and Vishwas Rao was not dead. Professor then showed him the torn page of Bakar book that he had in his pocket. Rajendra read it carefully and told him that realities can be different for different peoples. What he thought had happened is a catastrophic experience. Rajendra told him that in the case of electrons, one cannot predict which path the electrons takes at a point of time. He told him that it is a lack of determination in quantum theory and explained to him what it meant. In one word, the electron may be found here in another. It may be found in another place, but in the third world. It may be at different location. Once the observer knows about the correct placing of the electrons in every world, it might happen that an alternative world exists at the same time. Hence, the professor was not in 2 different worlds at the present time. He had real life experience in an alternative reality and he came back from another world. both the worlds had different histories and different sets of events. The professor wanted to know why he was the one to make the transition. Rajendra told him that at the time of collision with the truck, the professor was thinking about the catastrophe theory and its role in the war. He was also thinking about the Battle of Panipat at that moment. So, the neutron in his brain acted as a trigger and made the transition. The professor was in that alternative world for the last 2 days. So, this is the chapter. If we read the chapter, it is really very complicated. First, when we read the first two paragraph of the chapter, we will be thinking that it is about a professor who is traveling a journey and he is moving towards. But later on, after in the second last pages, we find that the professor was met with an accident. So during the 2 days of coma, he was present in some another world, and he had the proof also that he had went to some another world and get that proof also along with him in his pocket. So how it is possible? It is not possible, but he can relate to it. I can give you my own example relating to these kinds of stories, if you want to believe it or not. So one day when I was in Karnikobar, I and my husband staying there at midnight at around 12 o'clock. My husband asked me to come along with him to go for a loop. At that particular time, there was very dark, means there was no current at that particular time. So I carry a candle along with my husband and go down, because in Karnikobar, when you look at the structure of the home, it is built, the toilets, the washrooms are built separately from the home. So I take a candle along with my husband and go there, and I was thinking that why my husband is so afraid and asking me to carry a candle along with him. Then that particular time when I come and go back to our rooms for sleep, and the next day when my husband wake me up, at that time I was laughing. Nothing responses, just laughed. I was keep on laughing and laughing. So when I get some consciousness, when I realized that so many people were there around me, that time they asked me, why are you laughing? So I told that my husband was afraid and because of that I laughed. But this was the only story, that I saw my husband was afraid, and because of that afraid, I laughed at my husband. But I didn't know why I laughed throughout the whole day, and I just saw that. So people believe, because there are so many superstitious beliefs in Karnikobar, they believe that you were not some ghost possessed you. So many things they told. But according to my knowledge, I saw only my husband, that particular point. I was just remembering that particular point, that he was afraid, and because of that afraidness of my husband, I laughed. This much I know. Like that only might be this particular Professor Gaidonde. He was in a coma, but his mind was thinking all about, during his journey, he was reading about the Battle of Panipat and all, because he had written 5 volumes of books in histories about the Battle of Panipat. So when he was researching these kinds of things, as a researcher, they had to find out what are the difference in the writings of other authors or other researchers. So they have to find the findings. So that is the work of the researchers. So when you find some difference in the books written by some researchers, that particular time when you get the facts that whatever or whoever has written this particular book is wrong, then that particular time you became a professor, because you had researched something new which a researcher has already written it wrongly. Like that Professor Gaidonde had found that somebody has missed some concept of the Battle of Panipat, because Vishwas Rao was not killed, because in some book it is written that he was killed by a bullet, and in another book it is written that he was missed by the shot. So these are some of the findings that the researchers or professors find out. Little mistakes, but it means a lot. If Vishwas Rao was killed by the Marathas, then who has won the battle? So these are some of these simple evidence that he had find out during his writing. That's why he has written 5 volumes of books in history. So the theme of this lesson is The Adventure by Jayant Narlikar is a unique story in which the author has tried to concord a new blend of history and physics. In this story, he writes about Professor Gaidonde's unique experience. He time travel into the past and experiences something that never ever existed. So this is the story. So I have downloaded some of the multiple choice questions for you. Question number 1. What is the theme of the protagonist of the story The Adventure? Option A, Professor Ajay Sharma. Option B, Professor Gangadhar Pant Gaidonde. Option C, Professor George Bush. Option D, Professor Gangadhar Kant Gaidonde. So what is the correct answer? It is option B, Professor Gangadhar Pant Gaidonde. Question number 2. Where was Professor Gaidonde travelling to? Option A, from Pune to Bombay. Option B, from Pune to Delhi. Option C, from Bombay to Pune. Option D, nowhere. And what is the correct answer? And the correct answer is option A, from Pune to Bombay. Question number 3. What is the name of the train by which Professor Gaidonde was travelling? It is very easy questions. Options are option A, Deccan Queen. Option B, Rajdhani Express. Option C, Jijamata Express. Option D, Sadabti Express. And the correct answer is right. Option C, Jijamata Express. Question number 4. Whom did Professor Gaidonde met during his train journey? Option A, Khan Sahib. Option B, Pathan. Option C, Gupta. Option D, Professor George. And the correct answer is option A, Khan Sahib. Question number 5. Where did Professor Gaidonde and Khan Sahib got off? Option A, Bombay Station. Option B, Indore. Option C, nowhere. Option D, Victoria Terminus Station. And the correct answer is option D, Victoria Terminus Station. Question number 6. Did the professor see British officers, Farsis and Anglo-Indian staff all around at Victoria Terminus Station? Option A, yes. Option B, no. Option C, don't know. Option D, maybe. What is the correct answer? Yes. The correct answer is option A, yes. Question number 7. What did the professor notice at the on-by road? Option A, shops were different. Option B, road was constructed. Option C, new shopping complex. Option D, new residential complex. And the correct answer is option A, shops were different. Question number 8. Whom did Professor Gadonde inquire about on entering the 4 buildings? Option A, President of the company. Option B, Mr. Vishal Gadonde. Option C, Mrs. Vishal Gadonde. Option D, Mr. Vinay Gadonde. So what is the correct answer? Option D, Mr. Vinay Gadonde. Question number 9. Why did the professor go to town hall? Option A, to check facts from history books. Option B, to pass time. Option C, to read books. Option D, to meet someone. And the correct answer is to check facts from history books. The last question, question number 10. What did professor start investigating at town hall? Option A, American history. Option B, Battle of Plassey. Option C, the period of Ashoka to the third battle of Panipat. Option D, about East India Company. And the correct answer is option C, the period of Ashoka to the third battle of Panipat. And I hope with the help of these information, it will be helpful for you for the coming up examinations. That's all for today. Meet you in the next class. Thank you.